The next is from Raymond McLean. The subject is first time, long time. What's up, Conan, D.I., and Joe? I've been a Keyboard 100 listener since episode 1. I actually found out about the podcast through D.I. on Russo's podcast.
You know what I wouldn't mind? Wait 1 second. Let me just say one thing. You know what I wouldn't mind? I wouldn't mind them doing that and having like Paulie could run a territory. Maybe you and Vince could run another territory. Maybe Jim Cornette runs another territory. You know, like.
With what? A bunch of guys that don't know how to work?
Well, you can find guys that do know how to work.
Bro, they can't even find guys now. We're talking about getting them for the WWE system. It's like they don't have anybody that's over. It's like that's a wrestler. What do you do? A territory with a bunch of guys doing 65 hurricanranas and
I think you could find guys that could work.
Suicide dives a show? Come on.
Yeah.
I don't think you could. I've been a Keyboard 100 listener since day one. I actually found out about the podcast through D.I. on Russo's podcast, which I stopped listening to when Vince claimed women were less than men because they came from man's rib. What's WTF? You guys are always on. I just want to say I appreciate the hundreds of hours of entertainment. My question is, do you think that AEW putting such an emphasis on wins and losses matters? That they're going to breed a culture where the boys are always fighting against taking a loss? We seem to already be seeing this with Pac unwilling to take a loss to Omega, which caused Pac versus Page to be pulled from Double or Nothing. Do you foresee this being an issue with them? And if so, how would y'all handle it? How would y'all handle it back in the day? I completely agree with this. I brought this up on Russo's show. That what are these guys going to do when they're chalking up a bunch of losses on their record? And you're putting my record on TV every week. It's like it's an independent contract. Am I feeling like, hey, I don't want all these losses are killing my marketability. I mean, seriously, would you if you're gonna emphasize the wins and losses, okay? And I've always said this all along. It's like if you're emphasizing that a guy lost, how do you promote losers? Like, how do you write TV for losers?
Well, this depends on the way you lose too.
Yeah,
a lot of times you can lose and still come out looking good. Mm-hmm. But I thought the same thing, bro. I was like, well, wins and losses. Well, why are you doing that for? And I just feels like it's an extra layer we don't need. But they must have thought about it. I want to see how they do it.
I don't think they're visually picturing what this is going to look like. Because the wins and losses, unless a guy is 65-0, find a guy that's 39-2, and it's for the world title, like it's that.
Well, maybe what they're trying to do is, have guys that put undefeated guys against each other, and that's a big match they can sell, and then maybe that match is good, and you have a rematch, like they do in boxing. That's what they do. They pad people's records until people.
But here's the problem. And this is where guys don't – and this is where the boys aren't good enough today with psychology, okay, is that if you're going to be doing that and you're having 2 hours of TV every week, to prevent yourself from 50-50 booking, which is you're going to get trapped into if these guys are always constantly wrestling each other, you're going to have squash matches, okay? Just so there's going to be times when guys have to fight some guy, but it's not it's not like every match is not going to be a match to see who moves up in the rankings. So basically like equal opponents, like UFC would book, right? So if a guy needs a win, but here's the problem: it's like if you're fighting a guy that's like a bum, he's got a terrible record, you should beat him quick and decisively. The problem I see with a lot of professional wrestlers today is they'll go out and have a match like that, and it'll be like 50-50, and they'll get all their spots in. Because they want it to be a good match. You know what I'm saying? Like the psychology, I don't know if the guys in wrestling have the psychology to protect their record. Like I'm saying, like if you're a guy that's fighting a guy with an inferior record in boxing or real combat fighting, we think the guy should make short order of the inferior opponent, like 95% of the time, right? Right. If one guy upsets them, it's like that's what usually happens. Well, once every 20 times, it'll be a massive upset. But it's like, so how do you like to me it creates lazy television, and it pigeonholes you into trusting the wrestlers to tell the stories that you're trying to tell as a promotion with the wins and losses.
What do you think when you hear this, Joe?
I think it's a problem, like you said. It is kind of a weird thing. I wouldn't do it. I think the story, professional wrestling should be based around the drama between the characters, with wrestling as a secondary part of it. Okay, that the drama between the characters should lead to fights and matches.
What do you think, Joe?
I didn't think it was – I kind of thought like you guys, like what's the point? And then I didn't really think it was a big deal. But now that I was thinking about it as you guys were talking, you come out of the first pay-per-view, Kenny Omega's 0-1. Now he's going to wrestle Jon Moxley from WWE coming in, probably going to lose. So now Kenny Omega, who's supposed to be one of the biggest stars, is going to come into the next pay-per-view and then the TV show, 0-2, 0-3. and it just sounds funny. And it looks funny.
Right.
You know?
It does. Yeah. It looks really. It's like I say, when you actually visualize the numbers and you're looking at this, it's like, damn, we should have been keeping these records. We should have been, it looks silly for us to be promoting this, because
is
these guys are.
Iglesias Fluffy, the comedian, the Mexican comedian.
I mean, bro, seriously, if you start, why would you not want them to just book you to win every single time? And if they're booking you to lose, would you try to come up with a different finish? Why wouldn't you? Because what you're doing is, if you're winning all of your matches, they're going to have to push you.
Yeah.
So now it's like, here's what we have.
Well, I just think, let me
throw this at you too. You extrapolate on this. So what you have now is a very loose hierarchy of guys that are running the company. Okay, we're not exactly sure who is the guy that is making the decisions on all the finishes, and if it's a group effort, collective effort. What if these guys are having difficulty but they book a match, they can't decide who to put over, they finally make the decision, they go to the talent, now the talent has an issue with who's going over with the match. I just think, bro, I honestly, because you're making the wins and losses important, I really think you're opening up a Pandora's box in the way the wrestlers are going to be reacting to how they react when they're told they got to lose. Do you agree?
What were you going to say, Joe? Or did you already say it?
Oh, no, I already said it.
Okay, so I just think that, I was thinking the same thing. Why are they doing this? And, you're going to put the record up there, and who's going to want to lose? But maybe, they're going to do stuff like I said, they'll get a couple guys that are undefeated so we can finally see that match. And then maybe we can have one guy who's only lost maybe twice, but he's lost to the two guys that are undefeated. And there's probably ways you can do it. I'm not a fan of it, but I'd have to see it play out.
Yeah. Right,
I don't think a lot of people are going to give problems because it seems like everybody there is very well paid. Everybody's happy to be there. Most of the guys are marks anyways, so they're happy they're in AEW and they're not going to fucking rock the
There's
boat.
ways to do it, but they should have tried to at least have some kind of worked records, or come in and been like, hey, Kenny Omega was 45-1 in New Japan, and Jericho was because now Omega's 0-1, then he's gonna be 0-2, and you know what I mean? It's gonna be tough to start up.
If they're gonna count the house or what, who even knows what matches they're gonna be counting?
Sure.
Okay, 2 years from now, if they're on TV, these records are gonna look silly. Yeah. 47-13 versus a 51-22 guy. Yeah. It's like, no, I mean, like, who gives? It's like, who cares, right? It's like, I don't care about that. I want to. Seriously, this is a problem too. I think is if you're just going to put guys against each other because guys' records on the card merit that. It's like you could just do that and be devoid of a storyline. There's no reason. All you have is just two guys fighting for. To me, it's just a breeding ground for simplistic and lazy booking. If all you were doing is just like treating it like real, and we're making it like like if you look at a UFC card and you look at the records of the fighters fighting each other, and look at the rankings and stuff, everything, it's like, let's be honest. How many matches on that card are you actually interested in?
Well, let's see how it plays out.
Usually most UFC cards are like 2 fights at best, right? Sometimes 1 fight, sometimes a super card, 4 or 5 fights you're interested in, right? But like if it's based on the records and you look at the records, it's like, there's only going to be a couple matches you're really going to be interested in each show. If you think about it, I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna be. I'd really like to see how they do it, but I think it creates more problems. Like, and you probably agree with me. So that's my take.
Yeah.